This happened a few weeks ago. I'm 32 and work from home as a graphic designer. I often pull late-night shifts to keep up with my freelance projects. My apartment is my quiet place, filled with art supplies and 2 monitors glowing in the dim light. The sounds of the city hum in the background, and I've always found comfort in working alone at night. I thought I was used to the solitude, but I've never stopped thinking about what happened. I was in my zone, eyes glued to the screen, focused on a tight deadline. The clock ticked past midnight. I felt tired but pushed through. Then, without warning, a message popped up on my screen. It was from an unknown user. First, I ignored it. Probably spam, I thought. I kept editing. But the next few nights changed everything. The messages didn't stop. They asked about my work initially, but then they got personal. I felt my stomach drop when the sender mentioned my favorite coffee shop. I hadn't told anyone that. I read the message again, trying to shake off the unease settling in. Maybe it's just a coincidence, I told myself. I couldn't sleep, so I kept working. But my focus slipped. I felt a pounding in my head, and my heart raced every time a notification popped up. The messages grew more invasive. They asked about my struggles, my choices, even my family. How could they know this stuff? Felt like someone was watching me. I thought I heard sounds from the city outside my window, but they felt louder, closer. My apartment, once my safe haven, started to feel too small. I couldn't tell what was real anymore. My brain raced, but I fought to keep working and ignored the growing paranoia. I thought about confronting the sender. I wanted to ask who they were and what they wanted. But I hesitated, unsure how to respond. Blocking them felt dangerous. I considered telling someone, but what would I say? Felt ridiculous. I didn't want anyone to think I was paranoid. Tonight, the messages took a darker turn. I see you, Alex, it said. The words sent chills down my spine. I didn't feel alone anymore. I stared at my screen, unsure what to do. My hands shook, and I felt my breathing quicken, the world outside growing faint. Then the last message came through. Look behind you. I froze. My heart raced, and I couldn't dare to move. Silence enveloped me, and I could hear the sound of my breathing echoing in my ears. I slowly turned in my chair, the darkness looming behind me like a wall. I was terrified of what I might see, but I had to know. My mind raced with doubt. Was this a cruel joke? Or was something truly sinister happening? As I turned, I felt a cold sweat break out on my skin. I wasn't ready to face whatever was there. The shadows danced, but I couldn't tell if it was my imagination or not. I chose to keep my eyes fixed on the screen, waiting for the next bizarre message, my anxiety swirling like a storm inside me. What would happen next? I stayed frozen for a while, feeling every nerve in my body on high alert. The room was silent, too quiet. I strained my ears, trying to catch any sound, any hint that there was something or someone out there. Gradually, I pushed myself to breathe evenly, seeking some stability in the chaos of my thoughts. Nothing happened. The shadow remained just that darkness. After what felt like an eternity, I reached for my phone, my fingers trembling as I typed. Who are you? I hit send, my heart pounding louder than ever. Deep down, I wished I hadn't. What if this person was dangerous? What if they decided to retaliate? Minutes passed without a response. I felt ridiculous sitting there, waiting for a reply as the darkness of my apartment loomed around me. Glancing around, the shadows now felt more menacing, pressing in on me. I finally took a breath, pushing away the fear. I needed to focus. I told myself to get back to work. Just as I started to relax, I noticed my second monitor had turned on. The glow cut through the darkness, revealing a document that I had left open, a project that needed my attention. But instead of seeing my designs, I saw a new file had appeared on the screen, titled Get Comfortable. Chills ran down my spine as I clicked on it, my fingers shaking. Inside was a single image that made my stomach drop. It was a screenshot of my living room, taken from a distance, showing my desk, where I sat just moments earlier. I could hardly believe it. I quickly scanned the room, half expecting to see someone lurking in the corners, but it was just me. I was alone. Adrenaline surged through me as I slammed my laptop shut. I couldn't process what this meant. How had they gotten that picture? Tears of frustration mixed with fear began to prick at my eyes. I felt like a fool for thinking this could be harmless. I snatched my phone again, ready to call for help. Before I could dial, my screen flickered back to life, the familiar chat window popping open. You shouldn't have closed it. My heart dropped. How was this person still able to communicate with me? My fingers shook so hard I dropped my phone on the floor. I needed to act fast. I scrambled to grab my bag, my instincts screaming at me to get out. I was just about to open my door when another message slid across the screen. Don't leave yet. I froze, my hand lingering on the doorknob. The chill of impending dread crawled up my spine. Who was this person? Why did they want to play this game with me? I hesitated between running out into the night where I could be exposed and staying here, where I felt cornered. Then another noise pierced the silence this time. It came from the hallway outside my apartment. A faint but distinct sound. Someone was there, breathing lightly. I felt the blood drain from my face. I had to know. I had to see if I was really not alone. With each shaky breath, I turned to where the noise came from, heart pounding like a drum. I wasn't going to let fear take over. I needed answers that could lead me right into danger. But I wanted to know the truth. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, and a deep voice called out from the hallway, sending icy tendrils of fear through me. I know you're in there, Alex. My heart raced. The voice was smooth, calm, yet laced with a sinister edge that made my skin crawl. I took a step back, unconsciously backing away from the door, fully aware that staying hidden gave me a false sense of safety. What do you want? I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. I regretted it instantly. It felt like a challenge, and I wasn't prepared for whatever might come next. Silence enveloped the hallway. I strained my ears, listening for any sign of movement, but the only sound was the rapid thumping of my own heartbeat. Minutes felt like hours, and just as I thought the voice was gone, it came again. Let us have a little chat. The invitation sent terror coursing through me. I gripped my phone tightly, torn between calling for help and unraveling the mystery myself. I glanced at my laptop, the chat window pulsing with new messages, awaiting my response. I couldn't just ignore it. Why are you doing this? I typed, each letter feeling heavier than the last. I hit send and held my breath, hoping for anything that would make sense. The reply came almost instantly. Because you're interesting. I jolted back, the words echoing in my mind. I wasn't interesting. I was just a regular person trying to get through a late-night work shift. My instincts screamed at me to run, but my curiosity kept me pinned in place. I had to know what interesting meant to this person. Who are you? I typed again, desperation creeping into my message. Information was my only weapon now, but the darkness in the hallway seemed to mock my attempts at reclaiming control. The one watching you, they responded. A chill swept over me, and the air became thick with dread. I glanced nervously around my apartment. Had they been watching for long? Did they know everything about me? Then, unexpectedly, the light flickered in my living room. The ominous shift sent me into a panic. I turned back to the messages, looking for haven in the digital world. However, before I could read another line, my phone buzzed violently in my hand. You should really look outside. I hesitated. Every instinct told me to flee, but I found myself drawn to the window, peering through the thin drape. My heart lurched as I caught a glimpse of a figure standing across the street, just at the edge of the darkness. The streetlight illuminated their silhouette. It was impossible to see their face, but their posture was unmistakable. They were watching me. A rush of adrenaline surged through me. I felt trapped, like I was on display for someone who enjoyed my fear. I turned back to my laptop, desperately typing in a frantic message. Leave me alone. That's not how this works. Suddenly, I heard the soft creak of a footstep behind me. I spun around, and my breath hitched in my throat. The figure outside was no longer just a shadow. Someone was standing at my door. I froze, staring at the door in disbelief. My mind raced with possibilities, each one worse than the last. Was it my imagination? Had I really heard footsteps? The silence that followed felt suffocating. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't find my voice. Gingerly, I approached the door, my heart pounding in my chest. Crouched down beside the peephole, I held my breath, summoning every ounce of courage I had left. I peered through, praying I would see nothing but empty hallway. Instead, I found two cold, dark eyes staring straight at me. I stumbled back, my pulse quickening again. The figure was still there, unmoving. I cursed under my breath, angry with myself for not being better prepared. I had to do something. I couldn't just stand there, paralyzed by fear. In a moment of pure instinct, I darted back to my laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. "Who are you?" I typed urgently. I needed to buy time to keep them preoccupied. A notification startled me. It was a new message. "Let me in and we can talk." My stomach turned. I wanted to reply, but instead, I glanced back at the door. The figure was still standing there, but this time they were closer, almost as if they could sense my fear. I could feel their presence creeping into the space around me, chilling the air. I looked at my phone. The screen pulsed again with another notification. "Will you let me in?" Their message felt almost like a taunt. It was as if they were trying to lure me, to play with my mind. In a blind surge of fear, I grabbed a nearby kitchen knife. My eyes darted between the door and the laptop. I wanted to scream for help, to call the police, but I didn't want to risk drawing attention to myself. I felt trapped in my own head, my breath coming in shallow gulps. Suddenly, the figure knocked. It wasn't a soft knock, but an authoritative bang that made the walls shudder. "Let me in," they yelled, their voice booming and echoing in the quiet hallway. I stepped back, clutching the knife tightly. I felt a flicker of anger rise within me. "Who the hell are you?" I yelled back, trying to muster some strength. "What do you want from me?" "Just a conversation," they replied. Their tone had shifted, now dripping with something akin to amusement. A sickening twist of fear washed over me, and I almost regretted my outburst. That's when I saw it. A shadow creeping under the door. It slipped past the threshold and began to crawl. I gasped, unable to register the reality of what was happening. It felt surreal, like I was watching a horror movie and not part of it. Time seemed to slow as I raised the knife, fully prepared for whatever would happen next. But the realization shook me. Someone was in my house. I turned back, eyes scanning for potential exits. But instead, the light overhead flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness. I stumbled backward, clutching the knife tighter, my breath shallow and frantic. The darkness wrapped around me like a heavy blanket, swallowing any remnants of safety. I strained to hear any sounds besides my pounding heart, but the silence was unnerving. I moved slowly, trying to keep my balance. The flickering of the light had thrown me off, and I could barely see a few feet ahead. I edged toward the window, hoping to find a sliver of moonlight to guide me. But just as I reached the curtain, I heard it again, a soft, scuttling sound, like something small moving quickly across the floor. "Who's there?" I whispered, my voice barely above a murmur. My own words felt meaningless in the oppressive stillness. I turned my head, trying to pinpoint the source of the sound. Then, without warning, the light flickered back on, revealing the room in stark clarity. In the corner, I caught a glimpse of something small darting behind my couch. My instincts kicked in. It was time to act. Heavy footsteps sounded from outside my door. I rushed to the laptop again, my fingers trembling as I typed. "What do you want?" The dread pooled in my stomach, and I held my breath, hoping for a response. A notification blinked almost instantly. "Let us make this easy. Open the door, and I promise it will be worth your while." Worth my while? I muttered to myself. What kind of promise was that? I didn't want to open the door, didn't want to invite whatever was on the other side in. It felt like a trap, and I couldn't let myself fall into it. Instead, I took the laptop and moved it toward the kitchen, planning to find a better spot if I needed to defend myself. Just as I stepped into the small kitchen area, I heard the door rattle. "Let me in," The voice was sharper now, tinged with impatience. I could feel the vibrations of their frustration echoing through the door. My heart raced again, and I concentrated on the sound, trying to judge their position. I glanced back at the laptop, considering typing again, but an icy surge of terror reminded me that talking was useless if they got in. Suddenly, I noticed the window behind me. Maybe I could escape there. I moved toward it carefully, trying not to make a sound. Just as I turned, a loud crash startled me. The front door burst open, slamming against the wall. "Get out here," the figure shouted, their voice dripping with anger. I quickly backed away, the knife raised again in a trembling hand. The dark figure stepped into the room, silhouetted against the bright hallway lights. Then everything froze. I could almost feel the tension hanging thick in the air, because standing there in the doorway was someone I recognized, but not from my life. I blinked, trying to comprehend. "Do you want to know why I'm here?" they asked, a twisted grin spreading across their face. But that smile only deepened my confusion. Then I realized the answer to their taunt could make everything worse. The figure stepped further into the room, their features gradually coming into focus. I felt the blood drain from my face. It was someone I had seen online, someone behind countless messages I had received. A chill crept down my spine. "Why are you here?" I croaked, clutching the knife tighter, my knuckles white. My mind raced. This was someone who had been a shadow in my life, a vague presence that haunted my screen. I never thought they would show up in my reality. "I'm here to help," they said, but the words sounded false, coated in an unsettling sweetness. "Don't you want to know the truth?" "I don't want your help," I shot back, my voice stronger than I felt. Panic tightened my throat. They took a step closer. I shifted my grip on the knife, ready to defend myself. "You should have opened the door when you had the chance," they said, feigning disappointment. "Now it's too late for polite conversation." Their grin widened, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp, too eager. I backed away slowly. My eyes darted around the room, searching for a way out. Suddenly, my phone buzzed violently on the counter. I glanced at it, uncertain. Would it be another message? Was there a chance someone could help me through it? But my phone screen lit up with a notification, and my stomach dropped. "Don't be afraid. We're all waiting for you." The message seemed to echo around the room. "Who es we?" I shouted, not entirely caring how crazy I sounded. "Your friends," they replied, tilting their head as though I might recognize someone behind those familiar, unfathomable messages. "They want you to let them in." Sweat trickled down my back, and I glanced back at the window. It was still an option. I wouldn't make myself a target for someone who seemed to play twisted games. "You've been curious, haven't you?" The figure taunted, swirling closer, their shadow engulfing me. "How about a preview?" In that moment, I understood their grotesque grin. They relished my fear, feeding off it. "Get away from me," I screamed, shoving the laptop to the ground. The crash drew their attention momentarily. I rushed to the window, throwing it open. The night air hit me like a cold slap. I could hear the distant sounds of cars outside, almost taunting me with the safety of the world beyond. Just as I was about to climb through, a hand shot out, gripping my wrist tightly. "You're not ready yet," they hissed, pulling me back. My heart stalled. I didn't think. I swung the knife wildly, feeling the steel bite into flesh. A pained gasp escaped their lips, and I didn't stop. I yanked my wrist free, scrambling out through the window and landing hard on the grass below. I stumbled to my feet, glancing back at the house. It was still standing, but now I felt like something wanted to chase me, and I could almost hear their laughter echoing in the dark. My instincts kicked in. I had to get away. But as I turned to run, panic gripped me again, transforming into sheer dread. Because behind me, faint but unmistakable, I heard my own voice, distorted and calling from deep inside the house. "Let me in." I ran, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The night was thick with shadows, and the smell of damp grass filled my lungs. Each step felt like a challenge against the pulse of fear throbbing in my chest. I could still hear that distorted voice, echoing in my mind. Let me in. I sprinted down the street, no clear destination in mind, just a desperate urge to put distance between me and that thing in my house. I could feel it creeping into my thoughts, a cold presence that clung like a fog. As I reached the corner, I took a moment to catch my breath. I pressed my back against a lamp post, desperately scanning my surroundings. It was a quiet night in my neighborhood, the kind that usually brought a sense of peace. But now it felt suffocating. I pulled out my phone. The screen illuminated my shaking hands. I wanted to call someone, anyone, but my heart sank when I saw the notification symbol flashing again. Another message, or a call from that thing. I hesitated, but curiosity gnawed at me. I opened the app. Come back. We're waiting. My heartbeat quickened. I pressed my back harder against the post, wondering how they could know where I was. I glanced around, half expecting to see that figure lurking in the shadows. Then a voice broke through the stillness. Hey, are you okay? I turned sharply. A neighbor, Tom, was approaching from his house, concern etched on his face. Relief washed over me, mixed with panic. Part of me felt safe, but another part screamed to keep my distance. Couldn't he let them know? Yeah, I am fine, I managed to stammer. But my voice sounded weak, shaky. He looked unconvinced. Are you sure? You were running like you saw a ghost. A cat. Just a cat, I said, forcing a laugh that didn't reach my eyes. I could feel the sweat on my forehead trickling down. I prayed he would drop it. Tom nodded slowly, but the look in his eyes told me he wasn't convinced. All right, but if you need anything, you know where to find me. He turned to walk back, and I nearly sighed in relief, but then I felt it. A shift in the air. I turned back to the street just as a shadow darted between two parked cars. My stomach dropped. Tom, I yelled, but he was already too far away. And then the phone buzzed again. I looked down, my heart racing. You think he can help you? Yes, one of us. The world swayed beneath me. It was impossible, right? I knew Tom. I had shared laughter and conversations over coffee. He couldn't be involved. But the way my gut twisted told me something was off. Before I could think, I took off again, running past the corner and deeper into the darkness. I had to find safety, somewhere that wouldn't betray me. I could hear the laughter again, faint but unmistakable, echoing in the distance. But it was then that I stumbled upon something in the shadows, something that made my blood turn to ice. I found a phone, lying there in the grass. It was still lit, the screen filled with messages. All of them from me, but I hadn't sent them. I stared at the phone on the ground, the screen illuminating my disheveled face and the fear etched in my eyes. Each message practically hummed with urgency. Come home. You can't escape. We see you. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through the texts. They weren't just random, they felt targeted, personal. I had no memory of sending them, no idea how I could have possibly typed those words. I glanced back over my shoulder, half expecting to see a figure step from the shadows. But there was nothing, just the cold, empty street, and the oppressive weight of dread in the air. I needed answers. Finding the owner of the phone felt like a wild idea, but I couldn't leave it behind. I reached down to pick it up, but the moment I touched it, a chill ran through my veins. They're coming. The message blinked on the screen before I could even process it. I dropped the phone, my heart racing again. Who's coming? I whispered to myself, my voice trembling. I couldn't just stand there. I needed to do something. I turned and ran, the adrenaline pushing me forward, even as my brain spun in panic. I had to find someone to help. I sprinted toward Tom's house, the familiarity of my surroundings doing little to ease the terror creeping into my mind. What if he was one of them? The thought rippled through me. I fought against it, trying to convince myself that Tom was safe. When I arrived at his porch, I hesitated, my hands shaking as I knocked on the door. I waited, my breath quickening with every second. Just moments later, the door creaked open, and there stood Tom, looking bleary-eyed and confused. Hey, you again. What's wrong? He asked, concern spilling onto his features. I felt vulnerable, exposed. I just found this phone and I think it's connected to what's happening. I hesitated, weighing my options. I think something knows I'm here, I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. His brow furrowed, and I watched the gears turn in his mind. What do you mean? Is it a prank? No. I'm serious. The front porch light flickered, and for a brief moment, I thought I saw shadows shift around us. Tom, please. I need your help. You need to look at the messages on it. Before he could respond, the phone buzzed again. I fished it from my pocket, my heart stuttering as I unlocked the screen. Yes, lying. Thomas' eyes widened, but he moved closer to get a better look. I could see the uncertainty clouding his expression. I didn't send those, I said, a coldness creeping into my voice, and I'm starting to think we're in this together. His eyes darted to the street, a quick movement that filled me with panic. We shouldn't be out here. Let us go inside. But as he turned to close the door, a sharp sound sliced through the night, a metallic clang reverberating from somewhere nearby. My heart plummeted. Then everything went dark. The porch light went out, plunging us into shadows. I could hear the rustle of leaves, a whisper of laughter in the distance. Tom? I called, my voice shaky. There was no response. I reached out, trying to find him in the dark, but my hand brushed against something cool and hard. I swallowed the rising dread, realizing I wasn't alone. Someone was watching us. I held my breath, straining to pick up any sound that might give me a clue about Tom's location. My heart raced as the laughter echoed, sending shivers down my spine. I took a tentative step forward, my foot crunching on gravel. Tom? I tried again, this time injecting more urgency into my voice. I needed him to respond. The breeze picked up, rustling the branches. Felt alive, breathing, almost mocking me. Something was definitely wrong. I took another step, but this time the coolness gripped my arm. A cold hand clasped over my mouth, and I gasped in shock. Panic surged through me, but I stifled it. Shoo! A voice whispered in my ear. It was low and gravelly, alien. I stiffened, terror flooding my senses. The world around me spun into darkness. I whirled, trying to shake off the grip, and just like that, I was free. I stumbled backward, bracing myself against the wooden post of the porch. I blinked, trying to make sense of the shadows. Who are you? I croaked, desperately trying to sound strong. The figure emerged slowly, stepping into the faint light filtering through the neighborhood. I recognized the face. It was someone from my past, someone I thought I'd never see again. Lucy? I gasped, disbelief washing over me. It had to be a dream. What are you doing here? Her expression was unreadable. She took a step closer, and her icy blue eyes locked onto mine. There's no time. You need to listen to me. They've found you. Who? I asked, my throat dry. I felt the weight of fear settle in my chest. They don't care who you think you are anymore. They want what you have, she said, her voice trembling, almost pleading. The shadows shifted again, and I caught sight of movement at the end of the street, dark figures darting between the trees like phantoms. Lucy, what do I have? What are you talking about? Her eyes widened with urgency, and she darted a glance behind her. I can't explain now. Just trust me. We need to go now. Before I could argue or even process, Lucy lunged forward, grabbing my wrist. You have to get in the house. I hesitated, and the metallic clang resounded again, closer this time, sending a jolt of fear through me. I nodded, my instincts taking over. Tom, where are you? I shouted, half hoping he would return from the dark. Grab my hand, Lucy urged, but the moment I reached for her, the ground shook beneath me. I could feel something dreadful lurking overhead. Suddenly, I heard a muffled voice calling my name from behind the door. It was Tom. Relief mixed with terror surged through me. Lucy, wait, I called out, pulling my arm away. I dashed towards the door, but before I could reach it, a figure stepped into the light. It was tall, clad in dark clothing, its face obscured. Stop, the figure commanded, and I froze, my breath hitching. What do you want? I breathed, but the shadows that danced around it answered with silence. I knew this night had only just begun, and what I'd find next would change everything. The figure stepped closer, and I could feel the heat of its anger radiating into the cooled air around me. I turned quickly back to Tom's door, yelling, "Get inside!" I had to get to safety, but the looming threat drew closer with every heartbeat. Tom opened the door wider, his expression a blend of confusion and fear. A flickering porch light cast unsettling shadows, and as I bolted inside, I caught a glimpse of Lucy, her face twisted with something between hopelessness and determination. "You have to make a choice," she screamed just before the door clicked shut behind me. "What's happening?" Tom asked, panic edging into his voice. I caught my breath, glancing over my shoulder at the door, praying it remained closed. "I don't know," I replied, trying to fight against the tremor in my voice. "But I think I'm being targeted. That person outside, they know me." Tom frowned and looked out the window, the fear in his eyes morphing into resolve. "Let us call the cops." "No, we can't," I urged, feeling a surge of desperation. "They might be a part of it. I just found this phone with messages, Tom. They were all from me, demanding I come home and saying they were waiting." Tom turned sharply, eyes wide. "What do you mean they were from you?" The weight of my words sank in between us. "I don't know. I didn't send those messages, but they're all connected. Someone is using my own fears against me." We both fell silent, the atmosphere thick with dread. The lights flickered again, and shadows crept along the walls. I could feel them encroaching from every angle. Then, another knock, this one sharp and urgent, echoed through the house. "Let me in, Alex." The voice sidled into the air, smooth and familiar yet tainted with malice. My heart raced at the sound. Was it the figure from before? "Stay away from the door," I hissed at Tom. He looked back at me with a mixture of reassurance and uncertainty, edging forward, but I couldn't let him. I felt that same vicious urge from last time, the need to protect him whatever the cost. "Alex," the voice rang out again. "You have to choose. We're ready for you." "What does that even mean?" I murmured, feeling the weight of their presence creeping into my thoughts, twisting my perception of reality. Were they hinting about my past, my failures, painful memories I wished to forget? Then, before we could think, the lights went out completely. It was like being submerged in pitch-black water. I heard Tom's voice cut through the stillness. "What was that?" Panic set in, and I strained to locate him in the darkness. "Tom?" I called. I reached out, my fingers brushing against something warm. "Tom, where are you?" But the silence only deepened. A sense of dread curled in my stomach as I felt something brush past me, the softest whisper of fabric, light against my skin. I recoiled but found myself hesitating, as if searching for direction in the darkness. Then, from far away, I heard the sounds of conversation resume outside. Laughter mixed with whispers, enveloped in the chilling night air. "Alex," the voice wrapped around me, echoing like a haunting melody. "Let me in," it coaxed again, persistent and unsettling. I gasped, wishing to break through the fabric of confusion but feeling more trapped than ever. The whispers grew louder. Strange faces danced along the periphery of my mind, half-formed memories dressed as illusions. "You're one of us," the voice persisted, rising over the cacophony. "You can be one of us again." Then the door to Tom's house swung open. The night rushed in, carrying only shadows. I felt paralyzed as I recognized Lucia's silhouette framed in the pale moonlight. "You can't let them in, Alex," she shouted, her voice cutting through the haze. Tom, disoriented, felt his way to me. "We need to run," Lucy screamed, her voice jolting me awake. I stumbled back, instinctively drifting towards the sanctuary of the hall, past the door that gaped wide open, threatening to swallow us whole. The darkness threatened to close in from every side, and I couldn't tell what was real anymore. In a split second, desperation propelled me forward. Everything behind us felt like a nightmare, a reality we were never meant to confront. I yanked Tom's hand. "Follow me." Together, we bolted out into the night, reclaiming our path down the porch steps, desperate to escape. But as soon as we hit the street, I felt an unsettling gaze slithering at my back. It was wrong. The atmosphere thickened, swelling with uncertainty, and I found myself doubting every choice we had made to get here. Where do we go? Tom's breath hung in the air, and I didn't have an answer. The corner of my eye caught a multitude of figures, shadows flickering with twisted delight under the dim streetlight. I had to think quickly, but my mind spiraled in confusion. Before I knew it, the sly laughter infiltrated my thoughts again, bringing with it flashes of the messages and the face at my door, the inviting darkness just beyond home. Home, and yet it seemed infected. But there was no time for hesitation. Keep running, I shouted, the urge to flee boiling through me, pushing those painful shadows away. As we dashed down our street, the whispering voices receded, but not before planting a seed of uncertainty. Was it all real? Or just another trick of the mind, a manifestation of fear? Behind us, Lucy's figure faded into the shadows. We're always watching, Alex, drifted off into the night, echoing again around the corners long after we rounded them. I turned to Tom, the familiar comfort palpable but overshadowed by dread. Do you think they'll stop? He dared to ask. I swallowed hard, glancing back at our previous lives, now twisted in obscured menace. I don't know, I couldn't shake the sense of impending doom that lingered beneath my thoughts. But I pressed forward, hoping against hope that distance would save us. As the city with its ghostly echoes faded into the twilight behind us, I couldn't shake the feeling that the struggle was far from over.